My computer has completely died. So I'm sitting here with my laptop so that I can watch the chat. I just have to get my laptop up and running. The computer starts, but it comes up with this big screen that wants me to change a bunch of settings. And hey, Wendy, I'll be there in a minute. And it wants me to change a bunch of settings. And then, and I don't know. It's the way the guy built the computer. I think it's a fail-safe for him to have to fix it again. Don't know. Hi there. Oh, wait, this isn't the right chat. Okay, let me just, I'll be right with you. Just give me a second. Are you having any fun? What you getting out of living? Okay, and my laptop is extremely slow. Extremely slow. This may very well be. I'm waiting. I don't know how many people are in here. Okay, there we go. Live. Oh, pardon me. Manners. Oh, there we go. Hey, Raph, darling, how are you, darling? All right, now I'm trying to get this laptop. Takes forever. It needs a hand crank. Really, right? Like, seriously. But here's the good news. So somebody tipped me? Who tipped me? I haven't even got my chat pulled up on the laptop yet, guys. This is probably going to be the last live stream in this room. Just extremely busy. I'm listening to, but making lunch for Howie. I just made Howie a couple of fried egg sandwiches. And
we all know the world is in tremendous crisis and peril today.
Don't you believe it? Okay, where's my chat? Okay, let's do this. Come on. What the hell's going on? Oh, there's my chat, and we want it on live chat. Okay, somebody gave me a tip. Are they wanting a card? Oh, well, Wendy, I can't do cards for. Thank you, honey. In Australia, but we're closely connected. When we do talk, it's like time has never passed between us. You only have one grandson? That's true. That's true. All right, let me get to the bottom of the chat here. Whoops. Whoa, whoa, whoa. There we are. Let's just do this. And then do this. Live chat. Yeah, okay. So, I'm sitting here looking at the chat on my laptop. My computer is, it's like I went away for the weekend and it decided, you know what? Now, I don't do cards for, if you want to do something with Howie this weekend, I will be at the Baltimore Valdemont Fair, like today or tomorrow or next weekend. My truck has broke down. Howie was trying to fix an exhaust leak or something, and or a bolt or something. I don't know what he was doing, but when he went to drill something out, he punctured a water casing or something. He tried to fix it. That sounds like my truck. But he said it's now leaking all over the place, and we were going to go today and pick up soil. May 30th, 31st, and June 1st. Okay, that's this coming weekend, right? I'll be putting the garden in. The garden. Beef short rib stew sounds awesome. I've beat short ribs in the freezer. Didn't know what to do with it. I haven't taken anything out of the freezer. I gotta tell you, I slept only 3 hours on Thursday night because Gracie kept kicking me all night. And then when we got to the motel, the Quality Inn on Lansdowne in Peterborough, not the best. Like if you are handicapped in any way, I don't recommend it. Like, they gave me the only room left was a handicap room with a queen size bed and a pull out couch. We figured, oh, Briar will just sleep on the couch. Well, it was a love seat that pulls out. Poor Briar's back. And because of the way the bed, there was only one bedside table, so I had to sleep on the wrong side of the bed. Briar froze because I had to get him to put the air conditioning on, and it was right next to his head. And it was kind of like being in the Florida motel the last time we went. But it wasn't that bad. So Howie had booked, he didn't want to have to drive home yesterday. So he booked another room at the Quality Inn. And I'm telling you guys, the lacrosse tournament, the adults left the kids to their own devices until 10:30. Don't know where the hell the adults were, but thank you, Wendy, by the way. Thank you, Wendy. I love you. And you don't have to do that. I wish you wouldn't, because I know what it costs. Okay? So at one point, it was really, okay, I got to tell you the whole thing, okay? We got to Peterborough, and we had just enough time to get to the cemetery. It's a cemetery for ashes, right? And and Howard Sr. Oh, and you got to hear some of this stuff. Gracie, as soon as it was raining, but Gracie, as soon as we got there, she went to the gravesite. Like, it was there for Mom, right? It was open for Mom, and they were going to close it after we left. But Gracie went by the headstone of Howard Sr. and rolled. And I don't mean she just rolled. She ran her face along the grass. She scrubbed her belly on the grass, and she rolled in it like there was something on that grass that was just making her feel like she was getting lovin's. You know what I mean? From the grass. It was really, and Briar and like, we didn't say anything because nobody knows that's not normal behavior for Gracie, but Briar and I looked at each other, and he goes, that's kind of cool, eh? But it was raining, and then there was a plaque on the ground in front of us where we were standing by a family named Sluggett. I believe their name was Sluggett. And the plaque in the ground, Gracie she kept pawing at it. The Sluggett. The Sluggett. Briar goes, she likes the Sluggets. I said, I know, right? Oh, perfect, Sybil. So that was really kind of odd. And the uneven ground, I had to use my cane yesterday, like a lot on Friday and yesterday. And I got to see my niece Tara, who's down, and her husband Mike, and their kids Ethan and Allison. And what's really wild is we're sitting there watching, and I'm just having a visit with Tara. I'm visiting with everybody. I took pictures, actually, because I've learned to be so, people used to accuse me, because I do a lot of filming. People in my family used to say, put down the phone, be present in the moment. I had to learn how to do that after 15 years on YouTube. So I learned how to put down the phone and the camera and be present. So family functions, I haven't been taking pictures, right? I haven't been taking pictures. And so we were sitting there, and Briar said, is it just me, or just, Cousin Tara's husband, Mike, does he look like Aaron? And I went, yeah, it's probably why I love him so much. It's not that they looked alike, but they had the same, they're only like a year apart in age, right? But they have the same body structure, and the short hair, and the just way of slipping around a room and smiling and making everybody feel good. And then Briar said to me, he blew my mind. Are you here, Wendy? Because you got to hear this. Briar blew my mind, and then he looked at Tara and Mike's kids, Ethan and now Allison. See, now, because I'm tripping over them now. And he said, and he says, is it just me, or does Ethan and Allison remind you of Noah and Addison, Aaron's kids? And I'm looking at them and going, wow. And Briar pulled up his phone, started showing pictures. And Tara and I are looking at each other. Now, they don't look exactly, but it's a body language. It's an age. It's a Tom Cruise kind of feel, right? Oh, that reminds me. If I forget, I have to look through pictures of our photo albums for Tom Cruise for Addison, because she's a huge Top Gun fan. And she didn't even know that my brother was the original jester in the original Top Gun, the first Top Gun. So, so Tara and I got talking about how even when we're not, like, Tara and I are not blood related. She's Howie's niece, but she's my heart. Like, you know me, folks. I don't make distinguishes. I no longer distinguish between first cousin, second cousin, blood family, non-blood family. Family's family to me, right? So I got talking to Tara, and I said, you know what's really wild is if you look, people choose, when you really choose your soulmate and your life mate and the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with, their family mirrors your family a lot. Like Howie and I were talking on the way home. He said, it's nuts the way our lives have overlapped over the years before we even met, right? Howie was friends with my cousins. And that's not how we met. We met in an Apsley dance, and he lived in Peterborough, right? And now I didn't even remember meeting him until I saw his picture of his 14-year-old self a year after we were living together. And I went, you're the kid, right? So, I mean, all of these things. And then I got to look. And then I realized when Briar pulled out the pictures, I got to take pictures. One person I didn't get a picture of was Mike, Tara's husband. But by the end, we went, the gravesite was wet. And I got to tell you, folks, there was nothing really prepared. Mom didn't want any fuss. She wanted to be cremated and plunked in the ground with Howard Sr. Okay? Blood or not, family is family. Exactly. So anyway, we're standing, and Brenda, now there are there's four kids. There's Linda, Brenda, Karen, and then 7 years later came Howie. He was the afterthought. His mom wanted one last shot at a baby boy, and she got it. So anyway, Brenda got up and thanked everybody. And I'm telling you, folks, I got to say this. Between Mom passing, Nan, and this weekend, everything went together like clockwork. There was almost no stress, no tension between family members. It was as if everything was just, this whole weekend was like an acceptance and healing weekend, and it was beautiful. The only one I ever saw, like more, one that I would like to repeat was my father's. But Brenda got up at the gravesite and said, thanks for everybody for coming. And if anybody wants to get up and say anything, and la, 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 la. And everybody was kind of dumbfounded, right? And Brenda looked at me because I'm the mouth in the family, right? And then Karen was standing by her and said, you want to say something? Folks, I had been drinking weed tea all the way to Peterborough. So do you know what came out of my mouth? Hail, Nan, the tail that wagged the dog. I went, Hail, Leona, the tail that wagged the dog. And everybody kind of just went like that. And then I looked around, and her grandkids were like, right? Someone had a fly swatter story. So this is really cool. I'm sorry, but Nan was not there, right? She was at the celebration of life the next day. I swear to God, she was there taking notes and counting heads and making sure who showed up. Honest to God, it was awesome. But anyway, someone said something about a fly swatter, and then everybody started nodding and talking. And Briar said, I just want to, and Briar, you know Briar with his public anxiety around family and everything. He said, I just want to say, I thought I was the only one that had trauma stories with Nan and the fly swatter. And everybody started laughing because everybody, all the grandkids, nieces, nephews, kids, everything knew about Nan and the fly swatter. It was her weapon. It was her disciplinary. Even Gracie, you can't lift a fly swatter around Gracie. I mean, she only had to get smacked by it once, right? So, I mean, so that was, but the walking on the uneven ground and the rain and the cane and all that stuff. But we went back to after the gravesite. They said, come on back to the house and we're having a big spaghetti dinner. And Howie said, no, we can't. We've been on the road all day, or, you know, it's been nuts. We've got to book into our motel. Like, we didn't even book into the motel. And the weirdest thing about the motel is that this one, they took our reservation without a card at all. Gave us the last room. And I phoned back to make sure. It's like, are you sure we're not going to get there? It's going to be gone. So I'm grateful for the room. Okay. But let me tell you something. When we pulled in, you couldn't get a parking spot except for the member slot, which we are because we stay at the Quality Inn in Kingston, wherever we go. And because they're the only ones who will take a prepaid bank back Visa debit card, right? So, but we pulled, and it was just minivans everywhere and kids with lacrosse sticks. And I went, well, you know, no, now we know why. Howie went in, he said, I'm going to go book us in and then we're going to go get some snacks and stuff. Then we'll come back, settle in, and we'll get some supper. And we had told Arthur, and I just said, oh, I wish Arthur had made it. And someone said, Bevy's right behind you. And I looked and there was Arthur and Bubba. And I felt really, and I didn't feel bad. I went, hey, Menzie. And it whole elevated the energy right there, right? Because, you know, there was tears, but there was joy and there was laughter at the gravesite. And that's so, so important, right? Like, I almost broke it out into lean on me when you're not strong. So anyway, but I didn't. So we go back. Howie books us in, took him a half an hour. Found our room on the ground floor. We didn't have to go through the lobby. We had a sliding door. And then we went and we got like chips and I said to Howie, I saw a 5-pound bag, not a 5-pound bag, but a huge bag of popcorn. He said, and you didn't buy it. Good job, right? But I bought chips and pretzels and oranges and grapes. And then Arthur came back. Arthur and Bubba went and came back, went and got some food and came back to the motel. And the motel room was not big. It was a queen-size bed and a love seat. So I was constantly moving shoes and suitcase and all that stuff so that nobody was going to trip over it because there was going to be 5 of us in the room, right? And so anyway, so they came and normally in an odd space with us, Bubba's like, I'm not sure I'm going to stick close to Daddy. But because we had been at the gravesite, right? And then we met back at the motel, he's like, okay, this is a 2-visit day kind of thing, right? And so, and there were kids running up and down the hall. Didn't bother me. It was like supper time. So, you know, Briar and Arthur ordered gluten-free Indian, and Howie and I had a place from burger from Vic's Burgers. Oh, really good. Never used DoorDash again. It turned a $30 meal into a $62 meal for these big hands. But anyway, so then our food came and there was no utensils, and Briar said, okay, I'm going to go, you know, Howie said, go down the hall, to, the where they put out the breakfast, you may be able to get, or ask at the desk, they may have utensils. So they gave him some wooden utensils. It's really cool. Wooden, not plastic, wooden utensils. But he took Bubba with him down the hall, and you could hear them. And I guess Edward just went up and down the hall. He saw all the kids running, and he was like, I'm good. I'm gonna run. Anyway, so when he was just full of beans, and he was told me, I watched this, I think it was called The Maid. I watched this short series recently about a woman who got out of an abusive relationship with her toddler, and this toddler always wanted to hear this one song called Shoop-a-Doop, I think it was called. Well, anyway, my grandson has been taking gymnastics at 2.5 years old, and he wanted to show Granny how he doop. What's a doop? A doop is a somersault. So he was doing so, and he couldn't quite, and there was one point where he would bend over and then he would just kind of flop forward. And I said to him, I said, tuck your head into your chin and grab your knees and roll. And he did. And it was like, oh, that was the end of it. He was just shooping all over. And then I was doing music. I was going shoop, shoop-a-doop, shoop-a-doop. And he went, no, Granny, not shoop-a-doop, doop, doop. And I went, but I like shoop-a-doop, shoop. No, Granny, it's just doop. 2.5 years old. This kid's really got a vocabulary. Well, anyway, we were all really careful because there was one kind of reclining desk chair, and there was the love seat and the queen size bed. So there's room enough for everybody to kind of relax. And Arthur and okay. And I guess Bubba said to Uncle Briar, he said, dupe! Briar goes, Uncle Briar can't dupe. And he looked at his dad and said, Uncle Briar can't dupe. And that's when they got off the bed, and Briar said, okay, I'm going to try it. And he somersaulted sideways onto the bed, and it almost broke, right? And he did it a couple of times. And Rick goes, Uncle Briar dupe. So we were having a great time. But we were really careful because motel floors, especially on the ground floor, they're concrete. No matter how much carpet you put on them, there's no forgiveness in when you hit them. So we were really we're all like, okay, he's too close to the edge of the bed, and he's duping all over the place and jumping. And then, we're having a blast. And he gets down off the bed, and it's right near, we've eaten, we've had our fun, we've been duping, we've been talking, and it's like 7 o'clock. It's almost, it's almost bed and bath for Bubba, right? So anyway, we could tell things were wrapping up, and shoop-a coop or coop-a shoop, coop-a doop. But anyway, he was sliding his body, kind of leaning on the foot of the bed, and he slid forward, and when he went around the corner, and he went on his face on the floor. Little bit of blood in his nose, tooth went almost all the way through his lip, little bit of a bruise. It's like, and I'm the only one who actually saw it because I was in the chair and I was watching him, and I went, whoa, like that. And I'm the only one who saw the actual face plant. I said, Bubba, that's going to hurt. And he went, ah! So, yeah, exactly, Sherry Leach. Grandchildren are like the panacea to all ills. They really, really are. So anyway, that kind of wrapped up the evening for them. But he had some snuggles, and Daddy snuggled him and calmed him down, and got him to drink water to rinse his mouth because it was, he bit his lip, right? And but when they first walked into the motel room, he said, I come here. It's like, yeah, isn't that great? He was like, well, I saw you, and now I'm here, and you're here too, kind of like excitement, right? So when they got all set up and left, and they were staying at Uncle Marty's, but Uncle Marty had a cold, wasn't feeling well. So they hung out with us as much as possible, right? Just to give Uncle Marty some peace. And then the next day, okay, that night, Yeah, this is you got to hear the whole weekend, right? So after they left, we're getting ready. Briar pulls out. Briar pulls out. No, he did. Yeah, he pulled out the love seat, and there wasn't any blanket. So I said, go get Gracie's blanket off the back seat of the truck, because he wouldn't go down and ask for a blanket and pillow. He wouldn't. There was a sheet on it, but there was no blanket or pillow. So I just go out into the car and get Gracie's dog blanket. And he went, I said, Briar, I washed it before we left. I just put it on the seat to keep her. And I said, you're covered in dog hair anyway. And it was a fleece blankie, right? The brown one with her paws all over it. We leave in the coach. And then I gave him one of my pillows because they were, of course, too big, but one was too small. And then the kids started going up and down the hallway. And I'm already sleeping on the wrong side of the bed. And, and poor Briar had to put the fan on. Well, you just got to let Briar handle his discomforts the way he feels comfortable handling them. That's all, right? So anyway, we're in bed. 8:30, Howie's watching TV. I've got my phone. I'm looking at my phone. Briar's looking at his phone. Howie shuts the TV off at like 8:45, and still kids are running up and down the hall. And I'm not talking one or two kids. I'm talking like 10, 15 kids on our floor. Doors opening all down our hall. Doors opening and banging. La, 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 la. Hey, come and see this. And I'm thinking, where are they? Where are the adults? Well, apparently I've heard about these things. Sports tournaments, the adults just kind of let the kids run free in the motel, right? Or the hotel, and they say, stay to your rooms, watch TV, whatever. And I guess they go out and party. So at 9:30, okay, I had already stuck my head out the door at 9:00, somewhere around that. I don't know the exact times, okay? And I said, hey, people are trying to sleep here. That's why we're here. And I shut the door, right? And then it was kept going on. So I phoned down to the front desk, and they said, yeah, we're going to try and do something about that. I said, look, I'm in town for a funeral. I have physical limitations and disabilities, and I'm an insomniac. You can't have 15 kids running up and down the hall at 9:00 at night, right? 9:30 rolls around, and they're still going on. And I heard an adult, and I went, yes, right? And the guy came and said, okay, you guys, enough's enough. You got a half an hour. Start calming down. And he left. So 9:45, there's just absolute chaos in the hallway. And I was in my nightgown and panties. Now my nightgown came to my knees, my nightshirt. And I walked out into the hall, and I said, for God's sakes, get out of the hallways and go to your rooms. And it went, right? I must have been pretty scary looking with my crazy askew bun on floating all over my head, and the stink eye and all that stuff. And that quietened down, but all the kids didn't hear the message. So some more came down the hall. And at about 11 o'clock, the adults came back, and all the kids shut up. But the adults stood in the hallway talking for 15 minutes. And Briar looked at me. He said, you want me to go out and say something? I said, no, son, it's all right. Because just then we heard, okay, catch you later. And then it was done. Boom. It was quiet. But do you think I could sleep? The bed was not a decent bed. I was on the wrong side of the bed. I didn't have proper blankets. The pillow, it's just, you get old and traveling gets to suck, right? So he said, he had, when we were on our way coming to Peterborough, I said, you want me to see if they got another night? Because we're getting old and we don't like to drive, have a day, and then drive home 4 hours. Now, this is the couple who used to drive to New Brunswick and back in 21 hours. Stop for a cup of tea and come back. We can't do that crap anymore. So I booked, they found a different room for us for the second night. And anyway, the next morning, Howie said, I'm going to see if there's an elevator. I went, how can they not be an elevator? It's a 2-story building. It's a motel, right? It's a Quality Inn. So he said, what do you want to do? I said, if there's no, he said, can you do the stairs? He said, there's 2 flights of them. They go up and then over. And I went, no. I said, if you can get your money back for tonight, like for Saturday night, I said, do it. I said, there's no way. I said, we will just be angry and ugly and we will not get any sleep and there would be too much pain. And it was 2 double beds. And I ain't sharing a double bed with nobody but my dog. You know what I mean? Res Gummy said, I hit the res on the way home. So the next morning, we got all packed into the car, and Howie went to the front desk. And he said, because he said, he had told them, we're parked in the crib spot outside our room, but we don't have a tag because it's a rental car. Right? And they said, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. He went down and he asked, he said, is there an elevator? And they said, no. He said, my wife cannot do stairs. Cannot do stairs. As a matter of fact, just to go in our room at the sliding door from the outside, I had to walk around the car next to us and go up the lower curb because the handicap spot had no lowered curb for you to be able to walk up. I had to walk around a car and go down and get up on the sidewalk. My knees are screwed. They're pooched, right? So, yeah, it was a horrible experience, but it was a beautiful experience too, okay? So Howie went down the hall. He said, my wife cannot do stairs. Can we get our money back on the room? Because he had paid for it for the second night. And I said, because I said to him, he said, if there's no elevator, do you want me to see if I can cancel? I said, yes. Yeah. He said, I can't see. When he came back to the car, he said, there's no elevator. The tournament's for the weekend. And he said, and I can't see any way that you're going to get up those stairs, have a good night's rest, get down those stairs, and make it for a ride home after a celebration or on Sunday. And I went, no, there's no way that's going to work. So they gave him his money back on the second night. And we went to the celebration of life, which was amazing. It was amazing. It was, and I got to hang with my niece, Tara, and my sisters-in-law, and I got to see Aunt Alice, the last, she's the last octogenarian in the family, except on Howie's side of the family. She was Mom's sister-in-law. And I had people who remembered me or I couldn't remember them. She said, one lady said, if I'm thinking right, you're Bev. And I went, okay, who are you? And she said, I'm so-and-so, and this is my husband, so-and-so. We met years ago. It's okay. Like at a wedding or something. So it was just, here's the thing, okay? When my kids were little, Uncle Dave, Howard's brother-in-law, was a bit on the intimidating side. He had the vibe of a Italian, Spanish mob biker guy, right? When I first met Howard. He used to call me the fat broad, but not to my face. And that's okay, because Dave and I just love Dave. Right? After almost 35 years, we've gotten to understand each other and we have a really good rapport, Dave and I. Anyway, Uncle Dave, the celebration of life was from 1 to 4, and Arthur Edward had to have a nap. And Arthur, because he hit his face and everything the day before, Arthur wanted to make sure he was going to be okay. So he had a nap, and he didn't get there till 3:15. But he made that last 40 minutes, he made the most time. Because other than Aunt Karen and Nan, Bubba's never met any of Howie's family. Right? So I stayed in, and Howie said, we're going to go look at stuff. So when Arthur and Briar and Howie and Dave and Bubba all went down, and they showed him the elk. And I got pictures. I can't show them, but I got pictures. But, patting horses and over the fence and the elk. And then Uncle Dave lit up his motorcycle in the garage really, really loud and startled him for a second, but he caught on great. Now, if anybody knows anything about my grandson, he likes anything that represents heavy equipment, right? Remember Briar Broke Christmas with the tick truck with all the moving earth equipment on it and dump trucks and stuff? Well, Uncle Dave has, one of them great big golf course lawnmowers, and he's got, I didn't see it, but it's one of those things where you can move earth with the scoop and manure and all that stuff. And not only did Edward see it, he got to sit in it, and Uncle Dave let him lower and raise the bucket. Uncle Dave's the new man. Hey, Gypsy Mama. So, I'm sorry if I've not been paying attention to the comments. I'll do that in a minute. But I mean, when they came in the house, and when Arthur and Bubba got there, I saw the reflection of the top of Arthur's head, because he's really tall. He's like 6'2", at the top of his head, and I went, I smell a manzy. And I got up and I went around, and Arthur was taking his coat off. He had a little dinosaur thing on his hat and everything. And I went, hey, buddy. And he goes, I came here. So he was making the connection that we met at the gravesite, we met at the motel, and now we're at this other place, right? So Edward got to meet most of Howie's family in one day, right? And he's like, I came here. I said, yes, you did, and Granny's here. And then when they came back in before we were getting ready to leave, right? Because he gave me a big hug and everything. And I said, when we were getting ready to leave, when they came back, when he came back in from the horses and all that stuff, I said, because Briar was taking pictures the whole time and sending them to me, because I stayed in the house. After walking at the cemetery, I couldn't walk on grass or anything anymore. I could barely walk, right? I was using a cane just to get from the car to the parking in the cross parking lots and stuff, right? Because there's really no room for my walker, and so I just took my cane to be safe. But when he came back in, I said, did you play with the digger? Not the digger, the scoop. And he said, yeah. Oh, and that's another thing. When we were at the motel the night before, there was a company of arborists. I don't know if they were staying at the motel or if they were working for the motel, but there was a boom truck and another truck with a wood chipper on the back to shove the chippers in, and another truck on the other side. They were all bright with beautiful green colors. And Arthur said, buddy, come here and look at this. And he picked him up, because at the time there was a car in the way and he had to pick him up to look over the car. But after he face planted and calmed down, Arthur took him for a walk and showed him. Because he come back in and he goes, Granny, there's a boom truck. I mean, this kid loves his equipment. So, I mean, I remember my dad saying when Arthur was born and I said his full name out loud, Dad said, that's a name that'll never dig ditches for a living. And so when Bubba was born, I said, that's a name that'll never dig ditches for a living. I may be wrong. So we had an amazing time under the circumstances. It was wonderful to be with family and to feel the love, and Mom was fully represented by all of us. And I said, I made a mistake, not a mistake. I said something came out the wrong way. I said to Arthur Arthur, I said, thanks for making the effort, bringing Edward down, staying at Uncle Marty's. He said, she's my grandmother. Because see, Arthur was the same age as Bubba when I met Howie. So he doesn't, other than his grandmother in New Brunswick, he never remembered another grandmother, right? And I went, that's not what I meant, Arthur. I meant, thank you for me and Daddy to have our sons standing behind us. We represent. We were a full family represent, including the grandbaby, right? So I said it came out wrong. I felt the comfort of my sons. I really did. And Briar, who usually has a problem with crowds, was really, really cool and laid back. And I think Tara really made him feel comfortable, right? And then she made me take pictures, goofy pictures of her and Briar and stuff like that. And everyone said, "So where are you staying?" And it's like, "No, we're not. We're going home." And like as Howie said, "Do you want to go home?" I said, "Yeah, let's go home." When so we left about 4:30. And I said, "I guess this means we're not going to Shannonville." And he goes, "Well, it's going to be late, right?" And he said, I'm afraid, honey, it's going to be a straight shot on the 401. I said, "Okay, no worries. I got enough stuff at home. I'll be fine," right? And hi, Jack. How are you, darling? Oh, Bubba was the darling. Bubba was the darling. He had no problems being introduced to people and all that stuff. And there was a whole table of cups and saucers that Mom's collected over the years. Now, when I had my yard sale, I got rid of a bunch of stuff. Not that was given to me, but that I got in auctions that they threw in a box of cups or whatever at the end. So I got rid of those, and I only kept one cup and saucer and my Friendly Village cups and saucer, right? But there was a whole table of cups and saucers, china, that Mom had collected over the years, and they said, everyone take a cup and saucer. And I got one. I think it's a Royal Albert, and it's got poinsettias and pine cones on it. Christmas was our big time, right? She'd come and help with the baking and all that stuff. So I wrapped it up really carefully in my nightshirt and put it in my suitcase. And we got on the highway. Hey, Laura. We got on the highway and we got close to Napanee, and I saw the Napanee sign and I went, "Isn't Shannonville like just right there?" And Briar goes, "No, I think you missed it 3 exits ago." Howie got off on the one exit, followed the GPS, and took me right back to Shannonville. And I just wanted like a pen or something I could puff on because I'd only been having weed tea all weekend. And I was sharing that weed tea with people, right? The weed for the tea with people. And because, of course, so I didn't bring any, but Aunt Bev will have some is the general consensus at family gatherings, right? So he just gave me his card and said, and I said, "How much can I have?" Because I know the gummies are $35. And he said, "We'll buy a little bit of, green as well, right?" So he said, "Spend $100. Okay, so I got 2 packages of gummies and a 5 grams, 7 grams, 6 grams of some stuff. And I love it. The guy he grabbed a pre-roll and he goes, whoop, and he caught it in the bag and it's like, woo. And the one guy remembers me. I said, "I come in here about every 6 months from Quebec." And as I was leaving, he said, blah, 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 something in French. And I caught the gist of it. And I went, "Ça va bien, merci, au revoir," kind of thing, right? But they test my French. I said, "But by the way, I'm an Anglophone. I don't speak French," right? And they thought that was laughing. But anyway, and then there, of course, when Briar and I were in Sobeys getting the food for the room, Howie took Gracie for a walk and picked me some lilacs. It was as if somehow the dam had broke on the love in the family, and it was just beautiful. There was hugs and love and memories and pictures, and I took a lot. I took a lot of pictures. So you've heard about my weekend, and we got home. I was never so glad to be home in my life. I took a little piece of gummy. My truck is broken down, by the way. I told you that, so we can't go get soil today. Well, lilacs, when I was a little girl, our bedroom was lilac wallpaper and lavender trim. And everybody thought that was depressing because our room was only 10 feet by 6 feet. Not even this big. Maybe this big. Our bedroom. Our bedroom was about this big. Only this is closer to 7 feet wide. And my sister and I had bunk beds and stuff. But because our room looked out. Now, our houses were joined. There were, row housing, but the join stopped after our bedroom, and then the kitchen and the front bedroom were on the back, right? The kitchen and the main bedroom were at the back. But so there was a little window going between our houses. It was on the wrong side of the street for the sun, and it was an alleyway. So my room was always dark. But I still loved the lilac wallpaper, right? When you mentioned Royal Albert Christmas teacup and saucer, I had to check my china cabinet, and I have the exact same cup and saucer. I'll be right back. Because I brought it home and put it in the china cabinet right away. Oh. Oh. Hi, Tina. It's the poinsettia. There were two of them, and someone said, "Oh, well, take two if you want 2 cups." And I almost take both poinsettias, but I thought that would be greedy. So let's do this. I don't know why they make them for left-handed people. Tanan. I'll bring it out at Christmas and have my tea in it Christmas morning. Hey, Jessica! It's Jessica, right? Sweet Sipper? So yeah, it was a very physically painful but emotionally healing weekend. Oh yeah, and I cut my bangs today, and I did a really crappy job, so don't look. But so yeah, it was awesome. So you know what, Tina? I'll also think of you when I have this. Tina, what people don't know is Tina's a nurse, and she was with me in the hospital on FaceTime, just helping me get through it. It was hell. But I never wanted to think about that again because I'm never going through that again. Our room was a mix of paint my father put together. Paint my room. It was a deep, flat colored purple. And I'm telling you, the room was dark and it was so depressing. I loved it though. But maybe it was because you were there, Win. And you know what I mean? Well, that's a thing. Hey, Vincent Pellegrino, where you been? Okay. All right. I'm going to say, okay, now we got enough people here. Everybody say hi. And I'm going to, I don't know what I'm going to do. But everybody say hi. Well, Wendy, we read Chattanese. We knew it was lilacs. Hi, Nicole. Oh, hi, Jack. So I'll say hi to everybody when they're done. Hello, my Linda, Lena K. I'm already saying hi. But it was a good weekend. And the general feeling when we left was, I said to Brenda, we're not going to leave it this long to come again. I said, we're going to come down maybe in the fall, because is the person here who told me about the disability tax credit, is that person in the chat? Evangeline! You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy all the live long day. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You'll always know how much I love you. Please, oh, stay, sweet sunshine. Please stay at least a night and a day. Yeah, I've modified the song. Up on Cripple Creek. It was awesome. All right, Cheryl. So, hey, baby. Okay, has everybody finished saying hi? Let's pop out. Let me see if I can. Wait a minute. No, I got to go all the way to the top here. Pop out the participants list and say hello to Nat. Hi, darling. Barefoot Chickens up on Cripple Creek. Edie Mary and my Evangeline. Jennifer Ocean Homestead. And if you ever buy seeds from rainbowseeds.com in New Brunswick, if you use Ocean 10, you'll get a 10% discount. Kay Dean, Laura Sup, Lena K, Linda Bop, Nicole Croker. Is it Croker? Croecker? Phoebe Long, Sherry Leach, Cheryl Brooks, Sweet Sipper, Sybil V, Tigger Bouncing High, Wendy, Tina Elliott, Vincent Pellegrino, and Wendy. Everyone knows it's Wendy. And Wendy has stormy eyes. Okay, now I got to get back to the chat here. I hate this, but I'm glad the laptop is working. So yes, we had a nice weekend. And pain, yes. Now my house, again, is in total chaos. All right? I have to get the piano. The piano has to come out of my living room and go out on the deck. And then this desk, which I've pretty much cleared off. I just got some Christmas and decoration stuff up there, and I've got to empty the cupboards. And then the lamp has to come down, and then this can be moved, but the piano has to go out the door first. So, and there's a baseboard heater on that wall by the door that I had to ask Howie. He's got to remove that. There's two other baseboard heaters that once the room is reorganized, they're going to be turned on. One by the window and one by the other window. So we don't need that one. So I said, you got to remove that baseboard heater. We got to get the piano out of here so the desk can be moved because my computer has arrived. My computer has arrived and I will not set it up in this mess because then I got to tear it all down again to set it up in the bedroom. So the computer's here, but we haven't got the area set up yet because Howie's out there trying to make my truck work, right? So that's, oh my goodness. I must have stepped on this. So that was the weekend. We were going to go today and get soil for the garden, but my truck is not working. So I don't know what's going on. I said to Howie, I said, the only things I need from you, if you can do them today, is get the piano out of the living room because it's got to come down the hall through my bedroom and out the deck door. The patio door is the only door that's going to fit through. And these are the only corners the piano's going to go around. And then the baseboard heater has to be pulled up because there's no room for the desk. It won't sit flush to the wall if the baseboard heater's there. So Howie's got to rip that up. And once the piano's out and the baseboard's ripped up, we can start moving the desk and I can set up my new computer. But it's been a really busy weekend. Hey, baby, come and say hi. Hi, he says. Okay, I'm going to say Howie just said he may have fixed the truck and we're going to go and see if we can get some dirt. So I'm going to say take care. God bless. Howie, you didn't bring your tablet home this weekend, did you? Oh, Sassy Sunday. I've got my laptop in here. I'll be able to do the music from the laptop. So I was going to cancel Sassy Sunday because we don't have that, but I have my laptop here. I had to set it up just to, because my computer is now dead. It's not dead. It lights up, but it doesn't do what it's told. It just has this black and blue screen of all these things I'm supposed to adjust and then save it. And I just tried to save and exit and it just saved, exit, and came back to the same screen. So yeah, it's like you left me for a week and I decided not to work for you ever again, kind of thing. So anyway, we're on our way out the door. We're gonna go see if we can get some soil. And I think I heard Daddy say steak from the butcher shop. Not sure. But I gotta go. I love you guys. Take care. God bless. Sassy Sunday will be later because we have the laptop right here that I can control the music on. Okay? We're home, safe and sound. Take care. God bless. I gotta get working on the garden. Sassy Sunday. I will see you guys later on. All right? Mwah! Tonight, probably about 8, 9 o'clock. Take care. God bless.